All right, so when you open this, you're going to notice there's all these blue guides. To get rid of those, you go to View, Clear Guides. So that way they're gone and out of your way. They're there from when I made the document. All right, so pen tool is located down here on your toolbar. It looks like an old school calligraphy pen. When you have it selected, the first thing you want to do is make sure up here at the top that is set to shape. Sometimes Photoshop will set it to path, and we're making shapes. Paths is something different, so you want to make sure this is set to shape. When you have it set to shape, you have these different options. You have fill, which is basically a word for the color of your entire shape. Then you have what is called your stroke color. And a stroke is a fancy word for outline. So if you have your, right now it has a red slash, which means there's not going to be a stroke. So if you were to have a stroke on your shape, it's going to have an outline. Depending on how thick this or how high this number is how thick your outline is going to be. But for this assignment, we're going to keep the stroke set at none. All right, so to begin, I want to zoom in, Control plus, because it's important that you're placing your anchor points on the very corners of your shape so that's accurate. So the point of this is, previous to this, we created the digital color wheel, and we used these shape tools here. So we created our value scale with our rectangle tool, created our color wheel out of different rounded rectangles, circles, polygons, custom shapes. What the pen tool does is it creates those shapes, but you can create your own. So you don't have to stick with those exact shapes that Photoshop defaults with. This is how you create your own vector shapes within Photoshop. So we're going to start very easy with your geometric shapes. And here we have a triangle. So I'm going to recreate this triangle by clicking on each of these points. So before you start the pen tool, you'll notice it has what looks like an asterisk or a star. And that means you're starting a whole new shape. So I'm going to click on the corner. And I don't want to click and draw. It doesn't work like a pen does in real life. You click on the corners and it kind of is like connect the dot. So I clicked here. Now I want to click here at the second corner. And you'll see it creates this line that connects it. But this line is not a stroke. It's just there to show you it goes away once you complete the shape. So you'll see here once I establish that line that the star goes away. Because we're not creating a new shape, we're continuing. So I'm going to click. And it's really important right now, it looks like the shape is done, but if I turn off my fill, my shape is not closed. It's very important that you close up your shapes. So I need to click on this first point again, and you'll see there's a little circle that pops up next to my pen tool. That circle means that I'm closing up the shape. All right, and then I'm going to set my fill to what is a primary color, so it could be red, blue, or yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and set it to blue. And the shape is done. So I'm going to move over to my next shape. And you'll notice these gradually get more and more complicated. So I'm going to go ahead and start my new shape. So here we have the star again. That means we're creating a whole new shape. So I'm going to click, click. I'm going to click on each corner. All right, so let's say, for instance, you mess up. So say if I accidentally kind of click, and I'm like, oh well, don't worry about it, because I'm going to go ahead and finish my shape. So there we have the circle. The next tool I'm going to show you is called the Direct Selection tool. And there's the Type tool, and it's right beneath the Type tool. If you click and hold, you have the Path Selection and the Direct Selection. Path Selection just allows you to kind of click on the shapes and move them around. In this case, I don't want to move the shape. I want to select that little point and adjust it. That's what this Direct Selection tool does. So I'm going to select it, click on this point here, and you can see, oh, let me step backward. That didn't work. Let me adjust this again. When you have the Direct Selection tool selected, when you click on an individual path, it allows you to kind of move that path around. Sometimes you have to kind of double click it. Photoshop's a little iffy sometimes. So you want to make sure you have, double click the little point and you can adjust it. So while you're working on this, if it's not correct the first time, just use your direct selection tool to kind of finely tune your points. So I wouldn't fuss too much the first round. I'll just go in with your direct selection tool to edit it. All right, so I need to set this to a secondary color. So I'm going to set my fill. So it could be green, orange, or violet. I want to go ahead and set it to green. And I want to continue to move on. So I'm not going to kind of show you each shape. I think you guys kind of have it figured out at this point. However, once you start working on some of these more complicated shapes, so for example, on this final one, when I go ahead and get started, you're going to run into this problem. So say I'm just kind of working on my shape. Eventually, I'm going to run into, it might take a minute, this issue. So here you can see I cannot see what I'm doing. The fill kind of automatically fills up the shape. That is normal. What I need to do is temporarily turn off my fill. So I'm going to hit this red slash, and you can see it just shows my path, not the fill color, and I can continue to work on my shape by clicking on each of the little corner points. So turn off your fill temporarily, and then at the very end when you close up the shape, you can go ahead and give it the color that you want. So this is normal. Just turn off your fill if it gives you an issue, and then turn it on when you're all done. So you want to make sure that you complete all of these shapes using your pen tool, giving them the correct color. When you're all finished, go to File, Save As, save it to your U drive, and upload it to Task 16 to Classroom.